Welcome to Black Health, a weekly talk show discussing medical issues afflicting and impacting the Black South Florida community. Now introducing our host, Dr. Michelle Kirwan Blythewood.
Good day, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Dr. Michelle Kirwan Blythewood. I am a board-certified pediatrician and the Chief Medical Officer at the Pediatric and Family Health and Wellness Center in Miami Gardens, Florida. Welcome back to another episode of Black Health, brought to you by the Health Foundation of South Florida. And we are happy to bring part 2 to you of human trafficking with Victor Williams from Quest to Freedom. Vic, great to be having this conversation again. There was so much more for us to cover. Thank you for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So where we left off in part 1, I was going to ask you about social media use and its relevance to human trafficking and how it impacts human trafficking.
That's a great question. And whenever I'm with children, whether high school or middle school, I like to ask them, hey kids, how many of you have access to the internet? They all raise their hands. How many of you talk to people online you don't know? A lot of them raise their hands. How many of you actually go and meet these people that you meet online? And you'll be surprised that how many kids raise their hands. Social media is definitely not our friend. Again, I tell parents, you buy that phone, you own that phone. Set some rules before you give your kid a phone so there won't be no expectations of, this is my phone. I mean, I talk to kids and you were sweet. You try to take their phone, you think you kill somebody, right?
Yes, I've had that experience in the pediatric office. A complete meltdown. It was like this, just like that.
And my phone, buy that phone. So parents set rules. Make sure there's so many apps that you can make sure when that phone is on, who they're talking to, what they're talking about, because of everything I just said before. There's so many predators pretending to be children in these little sites where kids go to play games, talking. If you're going to let them play games, make sure they're not talking to anybody. No need to talk, just play the game. And definitely don't give information about where you're from, where you live, who's in your house, your address. This stuff is so important because the internet has become pretty much the number one way kids are getting recruited.
Yeah, the statistics on that last slide were quite scary, and thank you to our rescue that they were the ones that supplied this slide for us. But it is scary. 1 in 3 children expected to have an unwelcome sexual experience online before they turn 18. 1 in 3. So that's frightening.
And I like to point out that last one when we're talking about the LGBTQ plus community. Again, because these people, who they are, choose to love who they want to love, they're already, being looked at in a bad way, which further adds to the trauma and the insecurities. I mean, that community, because sometimes they can't get a job just because the people they choose to love, they have nowhere to go and they easily become victims of this crime. So we really need to look at that community a lot.
So we haven't spoken about the health impacts, the physical and mental health impact of trafficking on victims. Let's talk a little bit about that.
So when we talk about health, this is mental health. It's 100% mental health because you're born. I just did a St. Thomas University class. They got a human trafficking academy. I've known about the academy for years. This year, I actually participated and got my certificate, and I ended up doing a presentation. I presented with Dr. Sandra Marie Anderson, who is a psychology and has a PhD in psychology, but she was a human trafficking victim at 11 years old. But she persevered through it all, right? And so one of the things that we talk about is the mental health. Her section was talking about when we look at attachments, the moment that we're born, we could determine however that attachment was for you can determine a lot how you trust people, how you live your day. So that attachment becomes trauma if it's in a bad way, and that trauma becomes unresolved trauma, which makes you vulnerable, like we talked about before. So when we're talking about this, it is 100% mental illness, but then we can also talk about some of the sexual diseases that can happen. We
Mm.
can talk about HIV that happens. Um, and with all that trauma not healed, it can lead to other medical issues, heart, high blood pressure, all these different things that adds to who you are as a person. You know what I mean?
And so you have a victim that has experienced this trauma, effect on mental health, effect on physical health, sexually transmitted diseases, infections, etc. And now they need to seek health care. How accessible, how available, how difficult is it? Because I can imagine they don't trust, like you were saying, they don't trust even people, even somebody who you think you can trust, like a physician. They may not trust. So, is there a barrier? Are there any barriers to healthcare for traffic victims?
Yeah, I mean, look, and when we talk about sex trafficking, I wish they stopped using sex trafficking and call it rape trafficking, because that's what it is. So you got victims being, raped 15 to 25 times a day. That means 15, 25 different people. So one of the things, and Florida is one of the leading states in this country. We're one of the few that has passed policies and laws that our doctors and nurses have to learn about human trafficking. Why? Because 90%, 88 to 90% of victims that we've interviewed talked about coming to emergency rooms and they're not being recognized for the situation that they're in. A lot of people, a lot of doctors say, oh, this is domestic violence, but it's really a human trafficking. So those issues exist, and so it's so important. Again, Florida is one of the leading states that we're forcing or, pass law that doctors and lawyers have to, I mean, doctors and nurses have to learn about this to see those that population for what it is, and then provide the right resources. Florida, again, being one of the leading states in this, the University of South Florida Bright program just came online a month ago. And what is the Bright program? The Bright program is a program. I do the analogy, they are the national hotline for the state of Florida, but they operate differently. They're going around collecting all the resources in this space. So when you get vetted to either be someone to submit someone or be a service provider, you go through a serious vetting process. So if I come across a victim, I write down their information and I submit it in the system, and whatever services they need will instantly pop up, and now I can have direct access. This is something new that just came on that's going to help us get through some of those barriers of maybe race is an issue that I've heard sometimes victims say, well, I'm black and they didn't treat me. I called and the next person called was white and they got in right away. They were telling me they didn't have resources. This is no color. This is just you're submitting the paperwork, and I don't have to wait. I love the national hotline, but the last time I called them, I was on the phone for an hour waiting for a resource. So this is going to be great, but we have great resources. We can always have more, never have enough, especially for men. There are not a lot of resource for boys and men in that space, for housing.
How does fear of law enforcement or immigration authorities prevent survivors from seeking help? Seeking help, because I don't think it's probably just healthcare. I mean, if they don't trust, they don't trust. Period.
Right. Again, I talked about how do we resolve this issue? We need to get human trafficking on police reports. Two things happen. We get better numbers and we force law enforcement to learn about this. The guys that are in the task forces, yeah, they know a little bit more, but this needs to be part of a curriculum that is constantly, I've been doing this 14 years and I'm still learning. This is a cultural issue. So when you got a majority of law enforcement males that are looking at this like, well, this person chose to do this, and they're not seeing these victims for who they are, it is a huge problem. Therefore, they're not going to trust you by the way you question them. Why are you here? What you doing? All of this. A cultural thing that we do is victim blame. We have a country of 1 in 3 women, and I learned, 1 in 6 men are sexually assaulted, but that's not the reporting aspect. statistics because we do victim blaming. Why were you out? Why are you wearing that dress? Arm your
Yeah.
feet, you know? So it's a lot of issues, in that space.
Victor, thank you. We need to take a quick commercial break. You are watching Black Health, brought to you by the Health Foundation of South Florida. We will be back with more with Victor Williams from Quest to Freedom, talking about human trafficking, modern day slavery. Please stay tuned. Thank you.
I grew up down here in South Florida, so for me, it's a little bit more personal.
For the Mesman and Dover Law Firm, it's about community.
For us, South Florida's our home. You all are our people.
Our family, our future.
The difference we'll make for you, your loved ones, your kids, matters, because to us, it's personal.
If you need us, call us 24/7 at 866-954-MORE.
That's 866-954-6673. Demesman and Dover Law Firm, youraccidentattorneys.com.
Help comes in many forms. As a Miami-Dade County bus operator, you can help your community, help those in need, and even help yourself. Operators have the opportunity to earn more than $50,000 a year plus built-in overtime, earn more than 13 paid holidays and vacation days, and take advantage of the tuition reimbursement program. Plus, qualified new drivers will receive a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Become a driving force in our community. Apply now at miamidade.gov/busdriver.
The spine bears the weight of our every move. At Baptist Health Brain and Spine Care, we deliver personalized care utilizing the latest technology to diagnose and treat a wide range of neurological conditions, and with services ranging from pain management therapy to minimally invasive surgeries, you can get back to your routine with strength and stability. Welcome to Comprehensive Brain and Spine Care.
Welcome back to Black Health. We are talking about human trafficking with Victor Williams. I'd like to talk a little bit about, you were talking about policy and police and so on. I want to talk about community awareness and education. How important is it, and how do we educate the community?
Well, sometimes I get calls to sit on panels. Sometimes I have politicians and I have other people. I mean, this is my life work. I know this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. And, people get on and they talk about the basics, force, fraud, or coercion, and they're not really given the detailed issues of, care. One thing I like to talk about, people that work in this space that are serving victims, we need to make sure we're getting taken care of too, because if we don't take care of ourselves, we're not giving these victims the proper care that they need, because we're bringing our own issues, right? So it's so hard to really, education is the key. It is the prevention part of the 3 Ps, right? We must educate. I speak from this, from a passion of my learned experience, hoping that if most men know what I know and acted on it, this is something we can turn around in a snap. But education is the key, awareness. Florida, again, we should be teaching this in our schools, but not all schools are teaching it. You can't start young enough to educate kids about things that they need to look for beyond, looking both ways before you cross the street and things like that. So education.
Let's do some education right now for myself and for our audience. What are the key signs to look for when identifying a potential victim of trafficking? And what do we do if we suspect somebody is being trafficked? Who do we reach out to? So how do you identify this person potentially? And what do you do when you think you have identified somebody?
So if you're a parent and your kid is coming home with an iPhone that you
didn't purchase,
then bought clothes, shoes, purses, that's a problem. When we see people, if you're in a service providing position, like I'm sure sometimes when people come to your clinic, they got to show an ID. And if they go, I got to get my ID from someone, that's the first thing a trafficker is going to take from you, because if they got your passport or your ID, you can't get on a bus, plane, or train. You can't go apply for a job. So, you want to look for that. You want to look for control. You ask me a question, but this person over here got all the answers. And trust your gut. Sometimes you're like, this doesn't look right. So when these things don't look right, and when we work in this space, we would rather you call it and not be nothing than for you to look on a TV 2 days later when you had this gut feeling and didn't say anything. And here's this person that's dead or something like that, right? So we have the national hotline phone number, which is 888-373-7888. That's the national hotline. But Florida has its own hotline, which is 855-FLA-SAFE. And that's 352-7233. And that's the now Florida Florida hotline. And lastly, I would give you the state attorney, Miss Rundle, which is one of the best, attorneys addressing this issue in the country. They also have a hotline, which is 305 Fix Stop, 305 FIXSTOP, Fix Stop. So if you're in Miami, call that.
You're breaking up a little bit there, but we did catch the numbers. Thank you. So I'm curious. I identify somebody who I think might be trafficked. I call the hotline. Then what happens? An investigation? Is this?
Yeah, if you call the national hotline, and also I forgot to give the Homeland Security hotline, which is 866-347-2423. Now, when you call the national hotline, when they pick up the phone, you just report what you see and what you learned today. I seen somebody controlling. We tell people to be good witnesses. We don't want you to risk your life getting involved. So if you got a cell phone, take pictures, take video. We need license plates. We need descriptions, try to give as much information on the situation that you witness so that law enforcement can make proper, determination if it's a trafficking situation or not, or at least follow up on it. You have rights. You can get continuing presence, which is 2 years of status plus work authorization. And if you qualify for continuing presence or law enforcement recognize you as a victim, you can then qualify for the T visa, which gives you a more permanent status in the country for being a victim of this crime.
Is Quest to Freedom working with any healthcare professionals or organizations to address the health needs of survivors?
I love that you asked that question. I've been working with Dr. Potter, who runs the Thrive Clinic, which was the first clinic in America specifically for human trafficking victims. Right now, that clinic is not going to get the grant that they normally get to run it because colleges are taking a percentage of the money that's supposed to go into programs to go to the college. So DOT, which normally gives grants, are not giving those grants to programs like that anymore. Therefore, we are now working with the Center for Haitian Studies, which is a great program that provides medical care for people who don't have insurance. So if you're a human trafficking victim and you have insurance, you can go to the Thrive Clinic. But if you don't, we had to partner with someone to try to figure that out. And Dr. Larry Pierre, that started the Center for Haitian Studies, amazing gentleman. That program is amazing. So if you don't have health care, you can go there and get medical services. So we're bringing those two entities together to expand the care for victims of human trafficking in South Florida.
Excellent. Victor, we do need to take another quick commercial break. You are watching Black Health. We are talking about human trafficking with Victor Williams from the Quest to Freedom. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Help comes in many forms. As a Miami-Dade County bus operator, you can help your community, help those in need, and even help yourself. Operators have the opportunity to earn more than $50,000 a year plus built-in overtime, earn more than 13 paid holidays and vacation days, and take advantage of the tuition reimbursement program. Plus, qualified new drivers will receive a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Become a driving force in our community. Apply now at miamidade.gov/busdriver.
The spine bears the weight of our every move. At Baptist Health Brain and Spine Care, we deliver personalized care utilizing the latest technology to diagnose and treat a wide range of neurological conditions. And with services ranging from pain management therapy to minimally invasive surgeries, you can get back to your routine with strength and stability. Welcome to Comprehensive Brain and Spine Care.
Welcome back. You are watching Black Health. We are talking about human trafficking with Victor Williams from Quest to Freedom. What are some of the biggest challenges that Quest to Freedom has faced in this fight against human trafficking?
It's all been about education, reaching people. And I know we don't have long to go into this, but right now I've evolved to the ultimate solution. And it may sound weird to some people because we use this word so much that it doesn't have any meaning. And that word is love. Right now, Quest to Freedom has evolved to like, what is the solution of self? We do so much stuff outside of us that we don't take care of ourselves the best to whoever we're working with, helping, whatever. And so when I was working with Dr. Anderson, I'm like, how do I take love and make it that, how do I attach it to academia to give it some real bite and understanding? And so the name of Quest of Freedom, the tagline is love is everything, because we believe.
And I believe we have a slide.
Yeah.
We have a slide that we can put up on love. Yes, here we
And
go.
when you see this slide, people think love is about what we feel. Love is about what we do. There's a trafficking victim telling the trafficker, I love you, but stop beating me. There's a trafficker telling the victim, I love you, but now go sell your body. That's not love. Recently I was educating women in prison because they're being targeted, because if they don't have someone to go to when they get out of jail, they're being contacted while they're in prison and they're being groomed. Oh, you look nice and we want to help you. So when I was talking to them, I was like, love for self is the strongest medicine and shield for all this. Parents, teach your kids about these words. And I left a blank. What is love? Because if I love myself, a true measurement of love for self are the boundaries that I set for myself to let people know who I am and how they should treat me. That kid that you were talking about in the mall that's walking around, when they got true love for themselves, they ain't looking for nobody to buy them anything. They don't need attention. They got
Validate them.
Yeah. And that's what that's all about. To me, this is the ultimate. And the more that we really understand this, I say, parents, when you tell your kid you love them, explain to them what it is. The next time, and I do this challenge with anybody, the next time somebody tell you they love you, ask them to explain, what is that? Right? And you see a lot of people fumble, well, I kind of feel this and I feel that. Love is about what we do every day. And I'm not a religious person, but I'm very spiritual. But I did start with what love is to start defining this stuff, how love is defined in the Bible. Love is kind. Love is patient. Love is all those things of action. Love is pain. Love is hurt. But how you process it determines how you get through your life. Trafficking, I told people, your trauma that was given to you by your family, you can't help, and you're never going to get rid of it. But don't let the trauma control you. You start controlling the trauma. Love is your superpower. Love for self is your superpower.
I could not have said that better myself, Victor. We are coming to the end of our show. How can our listeners get involved with Quest to Freedom's mission or support Quest to Freedom's mission? Because you are on an incredibly important mission. So how can people help?
Yeah, we're a year and a half, so we're still building out infrastructure. Please go to Quest, the number 2 freedom, all one word, .org or q2f.org. And, just give us support, go to our websites, go to our social media, continue to learn. We're going to be seeking volunteers. We need funding to be able to reach that financial mark so we can register with the national hotline. We're helping victims now and really don't have the funding, but I believe in throwing myself in the fight and let life work it out. We're just doing what we do. That's our ultimate goal. If you got a community, you want us to come and do training, bring us in. We do that for free unless you're part of a nonprofit and you get paid for training, then we may ask, but we're all about educating. That's the prevention part. That's what we do the best. That's what we do the most. And that's what we can do most effectively is get people to start learning and approaching this in the right way mentally.
Well, thank you for doing what you do, Victor. This has been an incredible two-part series on human trafficking. Thank you for your passion. It is very clear for the work that you put in. I know it's personal to you that you're really on a mission to get this done. So thank you for being you, for doing what you do, for Quest to Freedom, and for all that you've done. I mean, this started clearly long before Quest to Freedom. Your work with human trafficking. So thank you very much. Thank you for that are listening and supporting Black Health as well. Victor, do you have any parting words?
No, no, no. Just thank you, my friend, for giving me this opportunity just to continue to spread this important information on human trafficking. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for watching Black Health. You can find Victor Williams online at Quest, the number 2, Freedom. And you can find me online at Black Health Show on IG. Thank you again, and we will see you next time on Black Health. Have a great day, everybody.